Senator Lindsey Graham is set to announce Tuesday the Protecting Pain-Capable Unborn Children from Late-Term Abortions Act. According to the Washington Post, the bill is expected to propose a 15-week nationwide abortion ban, but it is unclear if there will be any exceptions for victims of rape or incest, or to save the mother's life. On the Senate floor Tuesday, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer called these types of proposals, quote, chilling to the bone, and believes, quote, every single American should stand in opposition against these radical, MAGA Republican views. In a landmark decision in June, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and gave states the license to ban abortion.
Now, Mr. President, shortly after the news leaked that the U.S. Supreme Court was ready to overturn Roe v. Wade, Leader McConnell acknowledged that a federal ban on abortion was now, quote, possible, unquote. His words. Well, later today, the senior senator from South Carolina is going to make good on leaders like the one today send a clear message from MAGA Republicans to women across the country. Your body, our choice. Rather than expanding women's rights, MAGA Republicans would curtail them. Rather than give individuals the freedom to make their own health care choices, they'd hand that power over to radical politicians. And let me add this. Republicans are twisting themselves into pretzels trying to explain why they want nationwide abortion bans when they said they'd leave it up to the states. Even the senior senator from South Carolina said a few months ago, quote, that if the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, it would mean that, quote, every state will decide if abortion is legal and on what terms. And yet, here he is, introducing a bill to restrict abortions nationally. For the hard right, this has never been about states' rights. This has never been about letting Texas choose its own path while California takes another. No. For MAGA Republicans, this has always been about making abortion illegal everywhere. The contrast has become clear. While Democrats want to protect a woman's freedom to choose, MAGA Republicans want to take that right away with proposals to ban abortions, to punish women and doctors for carrying out abortions, and even to push bans with no exceptions for rape or incest. We are seeing it play out across the country. It's chilling to the bone. Every single American should stand in opposition against these radical MAGA Republican views. Now, on the IRA, this afternoon, I will join with my Senate Democratic colleagues at the White House to celebrate the enactment of establish the enactment of the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. When this bill passed the Senate a little over a month ago, I expressed confidence that this legislation would signal a turning point in our country's fight to lower costs, to meet our nation's climate challenges, and usher in the era of affordable, clean energy. A month later, the good news is already pouring in. Companies like Toyota have announced billions in new investments to start manufacturing batteries for electric and hybrid vehicles right here in America. Elsewhere, Honda and LG Energy have also recently announced over $4 billion for EV battery production in the U.S. And recently, the CEO of First Solar said it was the Inflation Reduction Act that provided the, quote, clarity needed to make their investments here in America. Had we not done this, many of these plants would have been built, but probably overseas. And yet, despite this record of success, despite the fact that Democrats had told Republicans that this is opening a new way for the future, for American jobs with good futures here, not one Republican voted in favor of this bill. That's the difference between the two parties in a nutshell. While MAGA Republicans are fixated on their extremist agenda, Democrats are focused on creating jobs, lowering costs, bringing our country together. While Democrats will join today with President Biden to promote our job-creating agenda, Republicans will spend today introducing new radical legislation to ban abortions on the national level right here on the Senate floor. That's the contrast between the parties, clear as day. And we know which side the American people are on. As the chief election architect for Senate Republicans, continues to promote tax hikes for working families and putting Medicare on the chopping block. This split screen is unmistakable for all Americans to see for themselves. Democrats will spend today focused on the job-creating, inflation-fighting agenda we promised and delivered for the American people, while Republicans continue defending tax hikes for the working class while pushing national abortion bans here in the Senate. And the American people will have no trouble deciding for themselves which party is truly in their corner. On judges. Last night, I moved to file cloture on the nomination of Sarah Merriam to be United States Circuit Judge for the Second Circuit. She will be the 6th Circuit Court judge this chamber has considered since the beginning of this work period, the 6th. She will be in exceedingly good company. Later today, we will vote on the nomination of Ariana Freeman to be the United States Circuit Judge for the Third Circuit, followed by cloture on the nomination of Lara Montecalvo to serve on the First Circuit. Altogether, the Senate has now confirmed 80 judicial nominations to serve lifetime appointments on the federal bench. I made clear that confirming more of President Biden's judicial nominees would be a top priority for Senate Democrats, and we're making good on our promise by being on track to vote on 6 Circuit Court judges in the first 2 weeks of this work period alone. Among the judges confirmed this month are a number of notable firsts. The first Latino to serve from the state of Washington to the Ninth Circuit, the first Black Tennessean to ever sit on the Sixth Circuit, and the first Asian American from anywhere to sit on the Seventh Circuit. And that is just in the last 2 weeks. The 80 jurists we have confirmed also include the first Native American judge, the first Muslim American district judge, and the first Black woman, of course, in the history of the United States Supreme Court. I mention these first because even though it takes a lot to be a successful jurist, representation is a key part of the equation. There's been a lot of talk lately about the public's trusts in our courts, in my judgment, for very good reasons. So if our courts are to long endure, to say nothing of our democracy, they must reflect the rich vibrancy of our country. So as we continue confirming judges, we'll make sure that the individuals on the bench meet this important standard. We've come a very long way, but there's much work left to be done. And finally, on sepsis, I want to say a few words on a health issue that rarely gets the attention it deserves here on the Senate floor, and that is the issue of sepsis. Every year, roughly 1.7 million Americans are infected with sepsis. That's a population roughly the size of Phoenix, Arizona. Of those, 270,000 are ultimately killed by the disease. For those unfamiliar, sepsis is a terrible, life-threatening condition where the body overreacts to an infection in an extreme way. Most cases are preventable if they're caught with enough time. Sadly, because of a lack of public awareness, too many cases fly under the radar until it's too late. So today I'm here to introduce a resolution designating September 13th as National Sepsis Day. It would encourage greater public education about this condition, urge federal entities to streamline treatment guidelines, and marshal our resources to ultimately bring sepsis to an end. The federal government has a great model to follow in my home state of New York, which adopted Rory's regulations to guide health officials when it comes to this illness. Named in honor of Rory Staunton, a 12-year-old from Queens who died from sepsis 10 years ago, these rules have undoubtedly saved countless lives and should inform federal policy. I cannot imagine the profound suffering that Rory's parents must feel to this day, but I hope they find strength in knowing that the rules bearing their son's name have gone a long way to helping others. It's time we take this disease seriously at the federal level, and for that reason, I'm proud to introduce this resolution today. I yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Baldwin.